feed. Over 1 million times this has been viewed. This is Dan ripping Matt Patricia for essentially saying when he walked into Detroit, he had a lot of work to do to clean up the previous mess. How does Dan know? Of course, he was there. Listen to this.
To come in and say that you had a lot of work to do is completely false. It's a bunch of trash because that wasn't the case in Detroit. We were a good football team. Matthew Stafford was playing as good as he has in his career. That was because of Coach Caldwell. And we were an organization that was ascending. He was building. And you know what? Another thing, Z? Yeah. The culture was amazing. The culture was fantastic. So you had a winning record in 3 or 4 years. The culture was great. Your quarterback was playing really good football. So for him to come in and say that there was a lot of work to be done is a bunch of trash. Second of all, you know what Coach Caldwell wasn't? A finger pointer. And it's wrong. It's false. And for him to go say that after being 10-25, to say that, to go, well, you know what? Before I got here, it was bad.
Wasn't me.
Here's the thing, Coach. No, it wasn't.
So make that 1 million and one views. It continues to tick up. So here's the deal. They fired him and general manager Bob Quinn over the weekend. Jim Caldwell, his predecessor, Dan, 36-28, 3 winning seasons, 2 playoff appearances. Matt Patricia, 13-29-1, 0 playoff appearances. What does the organization do next?
Now the organization has a lot of work to do. That's an accurate statement right now, because in 3 years, what was trending to becoming a consistent winner has been torn down. What do they do next? I'd say this, Z. The first, and I think the next real move, is making their decision on Matthew Stafford. And Matthew's a friend of mine, and I don't say these words lightly. I think it's time to move on from Matthew Stafford. I think that's justifiable on both parties, because the Lions are not just, hey, let's hire a coach and see if we can fix this away. Because Matthew's going into, I believe, which is going to be his 13th season, maybe his 14th season. It did not work in Detroit. And so they've got to make the decision to move on from Matthew Stafford, trade him, and build for the future, because it is now a rebuild. Because everybody that's on that football team player-wise is very much custom fit for what Matt Patricia wanted to do. So I think that's the next real decision that the Lions organization needs to make. The second thing is this. Don't fall in love with just an X's and O's guy. I know everybody wants Sean McVay. He's a unicorn. You better go find a leader, someone that has foresight, someone that understands that city, someone that understands the frustration of that city, and someone that can organize and galvanize and distribute responsibility. And the head coach has got to bring somebody that's got great X's and O's. Offensively, we are in an era of football that you need to be outstanding at it. So hire somebody that has foresight at that position. They've got to bring an offensive-minded or a great offensive-minded offensive coordinator with them. Obviously, a good defensive coordinator, but it needs to be a rebuild mode, and that's where the Lions are.
Indeed. A dozen seasons in the league. Next year will be year 13 somewhere, whether it's Detroit or elsewhere. Dan, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
First stuff, D.O.
All right, Dan.
Key, just for 1 minute, I got to get your opinion on Stafford. Also, big story percolating in Detroit. Rumors are rumors. Hey, there is a college coach in Ann Arbor that's proven himself to be a really good coach in the NFL. You can connect the dots there if you want. A lot of people in Detroit are talking about that. That may be fantasy. But would you move on from Stafford?
I probably would, because he has some value for somebody out there. And, you know, we don't need to be trying to get a top 5 pick and all that unnecessary nonsense, but get some value for him, depending on what the salary cap hit is, and then move on and rebuild the whole entire situation. Because much like Dan said, what has happened is Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn made a decision to build a team a certain way. And now the new head coach and the new front office have to come in and see what players could fit the system that they will employ now. And if Matt's part of it, then great. And if not, then we can move on from it.
Indeed. We're moving on from last place to first place in a division in a span of 3 weeks. And boy, does Key like reminding me of that. That's coming up.
Because I got that package somewhere. I got it. I can play the same way the Raiders play, but whatever, man. So now we got Jalen Hurts taking first team reps in Philadelphia, Dan. Carson Wentz is kind of put on notice. Doesn't mean a whole lot to me that a backup is taking first team reps. What do you make of it?
Yeah, my thoughts are that the organization has a differing opinion on what should happen, because I think that if the organization saw the situation and the players the same way, because of the immense struggles that this offense and Carson Wentz are having so far, everyone would go, well, listen, it's time for Jalen Hurts. We drafted him in the second round. And I understand they drafted him to be a developmental player, but they also drafted him in the second round. And so this would be the time and this would be the moment to go, okay, it's going to be the Jalen Hurts show. And we're going to give Carson Wentz a week on the bench, or we're going to see what we have moving forward, no matter if we win this division or not this year. But the fact that it's just, hey, we're going to give him a little bit more reps means that, or at least it tells me that there's a differing opinion in the organization. Maybe the general manager has one viewpoint and the head coach has another viewpoint, or the owner has one viewpoint and the team has a different viewpoint. Now, that being said, I don't expect this to be a, hey, Jalen Hurts got 25 snaps at quarterback situation. I think that this is going to be something where very specific third down package. This offense has been absolutely dreadful on third down. So a very different specific third down package, maybe in the red zone where, 3rd and 3 or less, Jalen Hurts comes on the field. Carson Wentz come off the field. Now we can play 11 on 11 football, or down in the red zone where we can get +1 in the quarterback run game. Again, the opportunity to play 11 on 11 football. But I will say this, and I know this is a little off topic, but the Daniel Jones injury, with the Giants, now everybody in Philadelphia is on the clock. Like, if you can't win the division this year with Daniel Jones now hurt for we'll see how long, and the Washington football team with their quarterback situation, Dwayne Haskins not playing and Kyle Allen getting hurt, and now Alex Smith playing, and then the Cowboys, we all know, if you can't win the division this year, you're on the clock because now everything has been served on a platter to you.
Dan, I know you told us what you think the Eagles would do. What would you do if you have full autonomy? How would you handle the Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts situation?
Yeah, there'd be no question Carson Wentz would be my starter, and I'd get him to play really good football. I think that Carson Wentz still is a high-level talent in this league. I said this last week, Jay. I think there's two really kind of groupings of quarterbacks in the NFL. There's thinkers and there's reactors. Some of the thinkers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, I think Dak Prescott is one of the better thinkers in the NFL. And then there's reactors, and I think Carson Wentz is a reactor. And there's some guys that are both. He's a really very much so a thinker before the snap, but he's a reactor after the snap. I wouldn't sit him in the pocket a lot. I'd get him on the move a ton, somewhat like the Tennessee Titans do with Ryan Tannehill. And I'd let his athleticism kind of marry that football team. And if you watch the game over the last 2 or 3 weeks for Carson Wentz, I can see that there is the overwhelming evidence that he is scared to make mistakes right now. That you can almost see the little angel and the devil kind of sitting on his shoulder going, don't turn the ball over. Don't be risky with the football. Just take the check down. Well, that forces you to play cautious football. That forces you to take a quarterback's stinger away. I would get him on the move a ton. I'd create a quick passing game that created easier throws. I'd get my guys out in space, Miles Sanders. I'd use Jalen Reagor completely differently. I think Jalen Reagor is a true wide receiver in the NFL, not a gimmick or a gadget wide receiver. I would never sit him in the pocket, especially in an offensive line that's been absolutely decimated by injury. So you can't coach talent. I know that at that position, and he still has a ton of it.
Indeed, Carson Wentz, a reactor. Could be a nuclear reactor because fans in Philly are about to go nuclear if this thing blows up for sure. Last thing, our show began on August 17th, and the single biggest moment from a social media perspective on the show, hands down, is this from Dan Orlovsky. A couple of months ago, what you're about to hear was seen over 1 million times on our Twitter feed. Over 1 million times. This has been